guys, Kevin Shaw here, editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal. We're here at my home garage with a couple special guests. We have Greg Gaddis of the Greenhulk garage, and believe it or not, we actually have our very own Josh Dowling from Watercraft Zone, all the way from Australia, who's behind the camera. So turn the camera around and say hi.
Hey.
There you go. Besides a fun visit, we actually had a really good reason for Greg to be here today. Is he introduced us to the Greenhulk Garage Test Mule, his 2021 Yamaha GP1800R SVHO that's currently operating with a modified Stage 3 kit.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because everything is kind of done by hand and it's
Right.
all your brainchild.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, as you can probably see, as we walk around and get some details, this Yamaha's got a lot of love on it.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. You say it's 150 hours?
150 hours.
150
Yep.
hours on it, okay. And this is the ski that he is casually riding with his girlfriend.
Yep.
This is the ski he's blasting through the bayou and mudbug. This is the ski that he's doing all of his testing on.
Yep.
Trying new parts out, cutting on.
Yeah, exactly.
This is it. This is the floating laboratory for Greenhulk. So Greg's going to walk us through a little bit of everything he's done, but before we do that, he actually allowed me to take this out this morning. We had really optimal conditions up here in Tennessee, so much so it was even better at 480 feet above sea level. The barometric pressure was so low that we actually had really optimal.
Yeah, the density altitude's 1,000 feet less than what it is at home, which I'm at sea level, ironically, and the temperatures are about 30 degrees cooler when we were out there this morning.
Yeah, so the reason why density altitude means so much is that with humidity and higher temperatures, your air is not going to be nearly as dense. You're not going to have that good or that strong of an intake charge. So when we had 68 degrees this morning, we were able to get a really good solid punch on the throttle and see some really good numbers. You were able to pull off of the FuelTech ECU. What did we hit?
Right at 90 miles per hour is what it was running this morning. Of course, we're still at 2,000 feet of elevation according to density altitude. Not ideal, but for midsummer, you cannot beat that. 9160 RPM is what it was turning, and 20 pounds of boost is what we saw this morning.
20 pounds of boost. That's awesome. All right, so it took a long way to get this GP to where it is today.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, do you want to go through the different iterations, or do you just kind of want to talk about what we got right now?
Let's go through the different iterations of it. So,
Okay.
you know, we started this thing out with this a modified version of a Stage 1 Plus kit. See what a lightly modified enthusiast can get out of this. We're running mid-80s on that.
Okay.
The next step from there was adding the Reva Racing intercooler and the Pro Series cooling kit.
Okay.
That was quite a step above in performance over the Stage 1 Plus. And in optimal conditions, that one would see 90 miles per hour, low on fuel, over 9,000 RPM.
So the intercooler and the cooling kit alone.
And titanium valve springs retainers for the high RPM.
Obviously, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, that was able to get all the way to 90 miles an hour, and I'm talking perfect conditions.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And now here we are, more boost, more fuel, and hull modifications, as well as a FuelTech ECU, and we're running over 92 miles per hour in absolute perfect conditions with about half a tank of fuel.
Okay. Okay. Talk to me about the supercharger. You mentioned
Yep.
that while the ski itself has 150 hours on it, so does the supercharger.
Yeah, Yamaha supercharger clutches are known for going out. Some people say they can last 5 hours, which we have seen them last 5 hours in some cases. Some last hundreds of hours. With the amount of abuse that this thing sees, because as you can see, I do not baby this thing. It's still in the factory supercharger clutch at 150 hours on it, and consistently going over 90 miles per hour at 20 pounds of boost, not a single hiccup out of it.
Okay. All right. And whose wheel are you running? You're running an impeller wheel, of course.
Yes. To get higher boost, we've got the Riva Racing R3 supercharger
R3.
impeller.
Okay.
Right at 9,000 RPM, it's supposed to make 20 pounds of boost, which we are seeing.
Okay.
It's the most mild aftermarket supercharger impeller that you could put in it. So in the future, we will be going even higher boost levels and higher speed.
Okay.
So we've got lots of room to grow.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Okay. Now, I think something that was really significant was the decision to go with the FuelTech
Yeah.
ECU.
Right.
And one of the more impressive things, and I know it's rough, but you actually installed it as a dashboard.
Yeah. So the factory dash, you don't get a lot of engine parameters on there, which is something I don't like, because I like to see my vital information. So if something goes wrong, that I can feel it in the ski, or I can visibly see it on a data point, it's there. So being able to replace the factory dash with this FuelTech, I'm able to see all the important information. I've actually added some sensors to this.
Okay.
Fuel pressure and oil pressure being two of them. So all of that's displayed on the dash, and if something goes wrong, I know it immediately.
Okay. Okay. So something interesting was that you've only had that dashboard in for a week?
Yeah, it's been in there for a week.
Okay.
I've took it to the water, tuned it one time, put a 100-mile ride on it, and towed it straight here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored and glad I didn't break it.
Yeah, well, it works as it should. You
It
know?
works great.
The FuelTech, is it necessary for this level of performance? Absolutely not. This is just going to allow me to go even further than what a stage kit can do and what the factory ECU can do. So the FuelTech system, it was actually a really easy install for the most part.
Okay.
It's a plug-and-play harness, so I plugged the FuelTech right into it, right into the factory plugs, and it fired up within an hour of putting it on here. Wiring in a few extra sensors did add some time to that,
Sure.
and a little complexity, but all very easy to do. And for someone like me that likes to tune their stuff and have that control, you really can't beat it, because the data logging is fantastic. It has O2 closed loop, so even if you have a drastic change in weather conditions, like
Okay.
today I went from riding at 100-degree temps at 3,000 feet of density altitude to 60-something degree temps at 2,000 feet of density altitude. The tune was spot on because O2 closed loop was able to correct it at 1 or 2%
Okay.
to match the AFR that I desired.
So obviously the FuelTech is really designed for the hands-on tuner.
Absolutely.
The guy who's looking for that extra higher level. I think this is something way ahead of, say, a handheld tuner or reflash.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is not an entry level. This is a very high tier. But while it does offer all of that, there still was all the conventional functionalities. You
Yeah.
had trim control and
Yeah.
reverse, and
Yeah.
everything was there as well. So it retains all of the factory stuff.
It even powers the factory dash system. So if
Okay.
you didn't want to swap out the dash, you could still have the factory dash there and running. So all OEM features are there. And you know, if you don't have a laptop and you need to tune something, you could tune it through the dashboard. It's fantastic. So as someone that is capable of tuning their own watercraft, it's a fantastic solution.
Okay, okay. So we're looking at, on a good day, 92 miles an hour at around
Yeah.
9,100 RPM.
92, it'll be about 9350 RPM.
9350.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. But we are looking at an absolute rocket ship.
Yeah.
I mean, now you guys might notice that we have the Riva sponsons up all the way.
Yep.
And that's primarily just for drag.
Yeah, speed reasons.
Speed
all the way
reasons.
down, it will slow it down a bit when you're going this fast, but all the way up, there's minimal drag, and you will get you'll get the desired top speed number.
Okay. And we did have a lot of rain up here in Tennessee for like a whole week.
Yeah.
And I did warn you. I'm like, we're going to be full of debris. So you did warn me. You're like, well, I'll just bring my beater impeller.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, tell me the difference between the good impeller and the bad impeller.
Yeah. So the bad impeller that's in it for this trash water, it's already worn out. It's shrunk a little bit. So the impeller to wearing clearance is nowhere near optimal.
Okay.
You know, you might be doing 30 miles an hour and pin it, and it still cavitates at this power level. But even with that impeller, we were able to pull 1.3 Gs on acceleration, which is substantial. You know,
right.
I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the Tesla Plaid, one of the fastest accelerating production cars, and that car is only pulling 1.15, 1.2 Gs.
Right.
So, I mean,
this is
it's
yanking.
definitely a rocket.
Yeah, this thing yanks real hard. It was funny, you had told me, hey, listen, you're probably going to cavitate if you nail the throttle, so why don't you bring it up to about 3,000 RPM?
Yeah.
When I got up to 3 and I nailed the throttle, I cavitated real bad, so I said, well, maybe I'll bring the RPM up a little bit higher. I found around 36, 3,800 RPM. If I yanked on the throttle, it would absolutely bite and go. So again, it's you're dealing with cavitation problems.
Right.
Now, this is a stock intake rate.
Stock intake rate. Yep.
Stock intake rate. Okay. But you are running a Riva ride plate.
Yeah, the Riva ride plate is an absolute must. The speed increases there, and the overall handling with the ride plate is just much better than the stock plate that comes on.
Okay. Okay.
But other than that, the hull is stock. You know, no fancy modifications to the hull to get these results. It's just bolt-on parts on the hull.
Okay. So would this be a combination that you'd recommend to one of your customers?
Without a doubt.
Really? Okay.
As it sits, aside from the FuelTech as it is new, but the engine and hull configuration with what's done, I'm close to 60 hours like this and not a single hiccup.
Okay.
There were some issues early on. The factory flame arrestor in this intake manifold, it pushed through and caused a dropped valve. Of course, a Yamaha design flaw. Fixed that with the intake manifold upgrade kit and not had a hiccup since.
And that's Riva's intake upgrade kit?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And that's really the only real failure that you've experienced?
Yeah, other than that, this has been flawless. I put hundreds of miles as it sits in a day's time, and it always performs as it should.
That's great. Well, Greg, I want to thank you for the opportunity to take out your test mule and to beat on it a little bit. I'm sure I was probably more gentle just because it's someone else's ski and I don't want to put it into the trees.
You sank the last one.
I didn't sink it. I did. I split the turbo, right?
Cracked the pump tunnel.
I cracked the pump tunnel
from the pressure.
That's right.
Fault. It wasn't your fault. You were just on it when it happened.
I was on the throttle a little too long.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
If it can't hold it for minutes at a time, then it's not reliable enough.
Well, you know. Well, Greg, this was a lot of fun. I'm really glad you took the time to come up and visit us. I'm glad that the weather cooperated. We actually had a wonderful day today, and we beat all the fishermen out, so that was even better. So we really lucked out. Guys, if you want more information on this build or any of the parts that are used, definitely go over to greenhulk.net, and you can always go to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/greenhulkgarage to find what Greg is up to. In addition to doing updates on these builds, he's also doing reviews on new product as well, like we do, and he's giving it a far more high performance look at the products than we do. We're looking at more of a consumer side of things. Yeah. We get more newbies, guys who are green.
If you want to go fast, Greenhulk's the place to be.
Yeah, I'm a little scared of what the comment section is going to look like on this video. Guys are like, oh, I want this. I've never owned a jet ski before. How can I go 92 miles an hour? Greg, that's your problem now. You go ahead and answer that guy. Well, thank you again, Greg. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and maybe share it with your friends. It'll help us grow the channel. If you want more awesome jet ski content, please go over to www.watercraftjournal.com, where new articles are written and published every single day, Monday through Friday, entirely subscription free to you.